Hey guys. So this was a suggestion from a friend of mine that I love dearly, and she's rather brilliant. She's so creative and loving and strong, and I know that she's been through a lot, and I also know that she is on a very specific path of her own, and has had many experiences that have brought a lot of wisdom for her. And the subject that she brought up um, pertains to what a lot of us light workers, especially as divine feminines, have experienced. When you are particularly empathic and intuitive and on a certain trajectory, you draw a lot of energies to you, a lot of people. You have a lot of different experiences, and each person that comes into your space has a certain resonance and a certain puzzle piece for you. I say all the time that the people that we connect with, they all hold a puzzle piece for us. So before I go further into that, by the way, this is not alcohol. Can't drink alcohol right now. But I'm going to see if I can prevent myself from getting like a frog in my throat, because I'm going to have to crack myself open for this video. Not just for my friend, but for anybody that's experiencing this. So okay. So I've been intuitive since as long as I can remember. I always say from about the age of 3, but I also have weird memories that seem to stem from an earlier age than that. And there have been so many experiences in my life that I've had with so many different people, people that have furthered my journey, people who have given me so much in the way of challenge on my journey. I mean, major challenge. And every single one of them have helped me in their own way to garner another puzzle piece. And I should take a break here before going further with that, yet another break, to say that though I am a very spiritual person, I am a Celtic shaman, and that does not mean that I am perfect or that I think that I'm anywhere near perfect. I'm walking this path just as anybody else is. I make mistakes. I make poor choices. I experience hindsight just like anybody else. And I am growing. I do have a lot of wisdom from my experiences. I have been able to work with a lot of people, which I want to thank you guys for supporting me. I'm so grateful for the people that I've met and learned from and have gotten to work with, and the people that allow me to channel for them, because that is such a sacred trust. I don't take that lightly. But I'm walking this path just as anybody is, and I have my own challenges and things that I'm growing with and learning from all the time. So I thank every single person that has supported me on my journey, whether they handed me a puzzle piece in a joyful way or they handed me a puzzle piece in the way of challenging me, because every single one of them has been a soul that somewhere along the line signed up to help me encounter and engage with my authentic self. And that is being uncovered more and more all the time. However, with that said, it does not mean that I do not have very human qualities. So if you are easily offended by someone being blunt but kind, if you are very easily triggered, and instead of taking the lesson and sifting through it, you tend to react, I'm probably not the person for you to work with, and I'm probably not the person that you should be watching, because spirit doesn't hand things to me in a fluffy way or an easy way. They hand me truth. They don't always have a clean mouth either, and neither do I. So I'm not going to have videos filled with expletives, but it seems like the harder I try to control my mouth, the more it happens. It's just a part of life. We are not squeaky clean. None of us are while we're in a human vessel. And frankly, those of us who claim to be are probably the most grungy and dirty. But this journey is messy. Life is messy. People are messy. Nobody has it all together. But the people that come into our life to enrich our life, they give us the puzzle pieces that we need in order to piece ourselves together and to love ourselves better and to understand ourselves more. And I always say that life is school. The things that you go through, whether it's hell or high water, or it's a walk in the park, you're garnering something from it. And sometimes our experiences have to have the most impact for us to actually take something from it. Because if it's easy, we're not going to remember it as much. But if we had to fight like hell for what we garnered, you're not going to forget it anytime soon. It's going to be burned into your brain. It's going to be a lesson that you can really appreciate, because you went through so much to squeeze all the juice out of that lemon. Do you know what I mean? So I understand that on a very deep level. My life has had a ton of challenge and started out with a lot of trauma and incurred more and more and more trauma, even through the connections that I've had. So I chose to learn from it. And that's what the point of all of this is, especially when you have a connection that you feel very bonded to, and there is a soul connection there. There are a lot of labels like soulmate, twin flame. That's been totally hijacked and filled with bullshit. But any soul contract that we have is one where the souls have agreed to offer each other something within this lifetime. And in most cases, multiple lifetimes, which makes it really, really hard when things don't, in our perception, go well. However, the challenges that we are handed in those relationships are meant to crack us open. So when you have a dynamic that is very enmeshed, a lot of times it will involve trauma bonding, because both people are traumatized and you are bonding on that level, and you're triggering each other's wounds that are sitting there right under the surface, that also have very deep rooting. When you find that person is a mirror to yourself and really pushes those buttons and puts you in a deep state of not only feeling a lot of love and compassion and connection, and you share like a telepathic connection, and you're feeling each other's emotions, and you have a really big pull to that person, and you both experience that. When you have that triggering, we tend to, as a society or in the spiritual community, call that a soulmate connection or a twin flame / divine counterpart connection. And I'm trying to be really careful with that, because it has been so hijacked. But the entire point is to mirror to you what you need to see. And I know that we all know that, and we hear that, and it's kind of a cringy statement, because while that's the truth, it kind of gives this impression, right, that so all this is ever going to be is a huge struggle. All this is ever going to be is painful. But there is a time when I like to use the term to get up from the table, because usually these connections involve people who have not reached a point in their healing where they can be really healthy for each other. One of them usually is not as ascended as the other, or is just kind of on the cusp of starting out, or kind of pushing against that and really afraid of it. And that can cause a lot of problems, especially because they will still be within like the 3D matrix of things and connecting with really toxic connections. The norms that I see in these kinds of connections involve some form of addiction, some form of mental illness, of course, trauma, third parties, fourth parties, fifth parties, sixth parties, sometimes more, lots of secrets, lots of moments where there's triggering and there's this energetic push and pull that happens, and it's a hell of a roller coaster ride. And there's a point where you have to disengage from it, because you know that this is not serving you. But it's really hard, because you care so deeply for that person, and you love that person, and on a soul level, you love that person, and you just want the best for them. But you know that they don't have something to offer you that really offers you their best. And they can't meet you at the level that you are meeting them. And a lot of times when you have that person that's just very fearful, they get inundated. They see things, they experience things, they're not sure what to do with it because it is a soul connection. So there's some higher truths that start to make their way in. And then all of those buttons that were sitting there just waiting to be triggered, that were under the surface, that maybe that person engaged in all those different distractions to try to avoid having to deal with, like all of those buttons start to get pushed one by one, and sometimes multiple all at the same time. Sometimes all of those buttons get pushed, and we don't know what to do with that as human beings. And we run like hell from it, or we find reasons to sabotage it. And when you have someone that is a little further ascended than that and has that kind of information already on what that is, why that is, it's very, very hard to know that that person's just not ready. They're not ready to face their shit. And in some ways, I will say this, there can be a very unhealthy dynamic amongst the trauma bonding that involves like fixation and obsession and the energy of beating a dead horse, obsessing over that person, or wanting to force them to take on their journey, or to push them before they're ready. A lot of times spirit relates that as being fear and trying to control the dynamic because you don't know what else to do. That is something that I see quite a bit. I work with a lot of different counterparts, what other people refer to as twin flames. And it's hard, and I can appreciate that it's hard. And I have my own experiences with that. And I know that there's a certain way to go about handling it. And I think I'm going to take a break here and just kind of, I'm drawing on different energies right now. So I want to kind of pivot and feel into where I need to go with this. So if this is your journey, I want you, before we move into part 2, to drop right into the middle of your chest. Literally just, if you can envision your focus, or kind of going inside yourself and dropping right into the middle of your chest, take a deep breath in and then let it out at your pace. And connect with what you need to know about this as much as possible. What I would need to share for this next part. What you need to hear, because I'm going to pick up on these different things. And know that whatever is shared is for your highest and best, okay? So if you know that this is your journey, drop into your heart space. Or if you have a question, or if there's an inkling like this might be my journey, drop into your heart space. And then we're going to get into part 2, and I'm going to talk about what to do when you see that person encountering triggering, or they are triggering you in an unhealthy manner, or they're engaging in things that are really unhealthy, and you're encountering harm, okay? So work into your heart space, and then I will see you in a bit if you meet me over at part 2, okay? I love you.